When someone breaks your heart, it feels like the whole world collapses. You feel betrayed, powerless, and small. But what if I told you that heartbreak is not your ending? It is your awakening. The one who thought they destroyed you has only awakened a version of you they will never be able to handle again. When he breaks your heart, you don't chase, you don't beg, you rise. And in rising, you break his ego without even touching it. When someone you trusted breaks your heart, the first thing the mind wants to do is react. It wants to scream, it wants to fight, it wants to demand answers. You want to call, you want to text, you want to explain to him how much he hurt you. But understand this: the moment you react, you give him what he expected all along, your energy. That energy is what fuels his ego. He may not consciously say it, but deep down, the ego thrives when you beg, when you chase, when you demand. And so the most powerful response is no response at all. Detachment is not coldness, it is wisdom. It is the refusal to let someone else's actions dictate your peace. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. When you withdraw your presence, when you stop feeding the fire with your words and your tears, you create space. And in that space, he begins to feel the absence of your energy. You see, most people don't realize the value of something until it is no longer accessible. As long as you are available, as long as you are explaining and proving, his ego feels secure. But the moment you detach, the moment you close the door without needing him to see what's behind it, his ego trembles. Do not confuse detachment with indifference. You are not pretending that you do not feel the pain. You feel it fully, but you refuse to express it in a way that feeds his control. You choose to sit with it in silence. You choose to let it transform you quietly instead of letting it make you desperate. That is the true meaning of regaining power. You cannot control what he did to you, but you can control what you give back. And sometimes, the most devastating thing you can give back is nothing. Detachment is a mirror. It forces him to look at himself without the reflection of your emotions. He no longer has the comfort of your reactions to reassure him of his importance. He no longer has your tears to confirm that he still holds power over you. He is left with himself, with his choices, and with the emptiness of not having access to your energy anymore. That silence becomes louder than any words you could ever say. But you must be patient. Detachment is not about immediate results. It is not about punishing him or manipulating him. It is about reclaiming your peace and allowing time to reveal the truth. The ego thrives on attention. When it no longer receives it, it starts to question itself. And as he questions himself, you are no longer bound to the cycle of reaction and pain. You rise quietly, and you rise consistently. The real challenge is to resist the urge to break your own silence. There will be nights when you want to reach out, mornings when you feel the pull to explain yourself. But every time you resist the temptation, you take back another piece of your power. Detachment is like building a fortress around your heart, not to shut the world out, but to protect yourself until you are strong enough to open again without fear. Remember this: you do not heal by showing him your pain. You heal by no longer needing him to witness it. Your healing is yours, and it is sacred. When you detach, you teach him the most painful lesson of all, that he may have broken your heart, but he could not break your spirit. And in that silent strength, you have already broken his ego. Would you like me to continue with key point 2, expanded next into 600 words so it flows seamlessly like a full speech? Pain has two directions. It can either bury you or it can build you. When your heart is broken, the pain feels unbearable. But what most people do not realize is that this same pain carries the fuel that can transform you. Every ounce of suffering is raw energy, and where you direct that energy will determine whether you stay broken or whether you rise stronger than before. The natural reaction is to sit in sorrow, to keep replaying what happened, to let the pain consume your mind. But there is another choice. the choice to turn that pain into discipline. When you are heartbroken, you are given a strange kind of fire inside you. It keeps you awake at night. It makes your chest heavy. It makes your thoughts restless. Instead of wasting that fire on endless overthinking, use it to forge yourself. Let it push you to train your body, to move, to sweat, to grow. Let it drive you into books, into learning, into building something new. The pain is already there. But if you discipline yourself to channel it, then the very thing that tried to destroy you becomes the foundation of your strength. Discipline is powerful because it gives direction to chaos. Heartbreak is chaos. Your emotions are everywhere. Your mind is restless, and your heart feels unstable. But when you set a routine, when you commit to something daily, you create order inside the storm. That order is what allows you to breathe again. Instead of waking up consumed by thoughts of him, you wake up with a mission. Instead of falling asleep in tears, you fall asleep tired from building something worthwhile. Slowly, the mind begins to associate the pain not with loss, but with growth. Understand this: a man expects your pain to break you, not to build you. He expects you to sink lower, to lose yourself, to become smaller. But when you rise in discipline, when you grow sharper, healthier, more focused, his ego cannot comprehend it. Because in his mind, he thought he took the best of you away. Yet here you are, becoming even greater without him. That realization is more painful to his ego than any words you could throw at him. And discipline does not only mean physical strength, it also means emotional control. You learn to control your reactions, to master your inner dialogue, to train your heart not to run after what wounded it. You teach yourself that the pain is not your prison, but your gym. Every moment of discipline is like lifting a weight off your chest, slowly making you stronger to carry what once felt impossible. The most beautiful transformation comes when you no longer even recognize the version of yourself that begged, that cried, that clung to what broke you. You look back and realize that the pain that once felt like a curse has become the very reason you evolved. And when he sees this transformation, when he witnesses that his rejection only sharpened you, he is forced to confront the truth. He did not break you, he built you. This is how you break his ego without even trying. You do not have to seek revenge. You do not have to prove your worth directly to him. You simply take the pain and discipline yourself into someone he cannot reach anymore. And when he finally realizes that the heartbreak he caused only created a stronger, wiser, and more powerful version of you, his ego will feel the weight of what it truly means to lose. Would you like me to move on and expand key point 3 into 600 words next, keeping the same seamless speech flow? One of the most destructive traps after heartbreak is the urge to compete for his attention. You feel this deep pull to show him what he lost, to prove to him that you are still worthy, to make him see that he made a mistake. But this is exactly what feeds his ego. His power does not come from love. It comes from the control he feels when he knows you are still fighting for his validation. Every attempt to win him back, every effort to be noticed, every silent competition with whoever may be around him only makes his ego grow stronger. The real power lies in refusing to compete at all. When you no longer place yourself in the game, you cannot lose. Think about it: a man expects that when he pulls away, you will chase. He expects that when he withholds his affection, you will double yours. He expects that when he shows indifference, you will try harder. That is how his ego keeps him comfortable. But when you do not respond in that way, when you refuse to beg, when you do not show jealousy, when you do not fight for the spot he thought you would always cling to, his ego begins to shrink. He starts to question himself, because suddenly the script he was relying on no longer works. What you need to realize is that competing for someone's attention is another way of saying, I am not enough as I am, so I must prove my value. But your value was never meant to be proven. It was meant to be recognized. If a man cannot recognize it, then it is not your job to convince him. The moment you stop performing for his acknowledgement, you reclaim your dignity. That dignity is like a mirror, and when he sees you no longer bending, no longer trying, no longer needing his approval, he is left staring at his own emptiness. This does not mean you stop caring about yourself, it means you redirect the energy. Instead of competing with his new distractions, you compete only with your past self. You start pouring energy into becoming healthier, sharper, more focused, more at peace. You allow yourself to glow not because you want him to regret losing you, but because you want yourself to feel alive again. Ironically, that glow is exactly what makes his ego panic, because while he expected you to shrink, you expanded. While he expected you to fall behind, you moved ahead. The truth is, the ego cannot survive without control. And when you no longer play the game of proving yourself, he loses that control. He may test you. He may try to provoke you. He may try to make you jealous again, just to see if he still has that power. But when you remain unmoved, when you smile without bitterness, when you live as though you were never in competition to begin with, that is the deepest wound to his pride. You see, the ego wants to be chased, it wants to be validated, it wants to be needed. But the moment you show that you do not need him, not to be happy, not to be confident, not to be whole, his ego collapses. Because in truth, it was never about love, it was always about power. And when you take back that power by refusing to compete, you shatter the illusion he was hiding behind. The most powerful message you can ever send is silence combined with indifference. Not pretending but truly knowing within yourself that his attention is no longer the prize you seek. And once you reach that state, his ego is already broken because he realizes he no longer defines your worth. Would you like me to continue with key point 4 expanded into 600 words so it flows as one continuous speech? When someone breaks your heart, they expect your world to dim. They expect your laughter to fade, your energy to shrink, your joy to vanish. That is how the ego works. It feeds on the thought that your happiness depended on it. But the most powerful way to rise is to continue living as though nothing was taken from you. When you wake up in the morning and choose to smile, when you walk into a room with light in your eyes, when you laugh freely without the weight of the past dragging you down, that is when you reclaim everything he thought he stole. A broken heart tempts you to collapse into bitterness. It tells you to isolate yourself, to hide, to stop giving your best energy to the world. But when you resist the temptation, when you decide that your life will remain full, your presence becomes unshakable. You are no longer defined by what left you, but by how much of yourself you kept intact. A man may have taken your time, your trust, even your love, but he cannot take your essence unless you hand it over. And when you protect that essence, when you continue to live fully, you make his ego face a truth it cannot tolerate. You are never dependent on him to shine. The real strength is not in pretending you are unaffected, but in choosing not to let the heartbreak consume your spirit, your joy, your creativity, your passion, your laughter. All of it belongs to you. They were never gifts from him. They were born within you. And when you continue to live from that source, you show the world and yourself that you lost nothing essential. You simply lost someone who could not value it. There is something deeply unsettling for the ego when it sees the person it hurt still thriving. Because ego expects devastation. It expects you to wither, to become a shadow of yourself. But when you keep living, when you radiate joy, when you carry yourself with peace, you send a message louder than any words could ever express that your happiness is self-made, and that message pierces his pride more deeply than anger ever could. Many people believe revenge is about making someone jealous or proving them wrong. But true revenge is joy. True revenge is walking freely, laughing fully, living boldly, and refusing to let pain take away your ability to love life. Nothing disarms the ego more than realizing that, after all the damage it tried to cause, you still rise each day untouched in spirit. That is not just survival, that is victory. Even if the nights feel heavy, even if the memories linger, every morning you have the choice to step back into life. You can take that pain with you and still create moments of beauty. You can let yourself dance, smile, learn, grow, and expand. And the more you live fully, the more you see that heartbreak cannot take anything away from you. It can only reveal the depth of what you already carry. So do not withdraw your light. Do not give him the satisfaction of seeing your world darken. Live as if he took nothing, because in truth, he did not. What you are, what you carry, what makes you radiant, those are untouched. And when you keep shining in spite of the heartbreak, that is when his ego finally breaks, because he must face the reality that he lost you. But you lost nothing. Would you like me to carry this flow into key point 5 expanded next into 600 words? One of the most damaging illusions after heartbreak is the belief that closure must come from the one who hurt you. You wait for an apology. You wait for an explanation. You wait for him to admit what he did. You tell yourself that once he says the right words, you will finally be able to let go. But the truth is, closure is not something another person can give you. Even if he explained every detail, even if he apologized 1,000 times, it would not erase the pain or undo what happened. Closure is not found in words. It is found in self-mastery. The ego wants to pull you back into the waiting game. It whispers, if he realizes, if he admits, if he regrets, then I will finally heal. But that is just another trap, another way of giving away your power. Healing does not come from his recognition. It comes from your decision. The moment you stop needing him to validate your feelings, the moment you stop expecting him to fix the wound he created, you begin to close the chapter yourself. And this act of self-closure is what weakens his ego most, because it shows that his presence is not required for your peace. Self-mastery begins with accepting that you may never get the answers you want. He may never admit the truth. He may never apologize in the way you deserve. He may even deny responsibility altogether. But that does not mean you remain stuck. It means you take control of your own narrative. You choose to stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I build from this? That shift is where closure is born. You no longer beg for clarity from him, because clarity is something you create within yourself. When you stop expecting closure from him, you remove his last weapon. A man's ego relies on the idea that you cannot move on without him. He finds comfort in thinking that you need his words, his explanation, his approval to finally heal. But when you show that you can release him without ever receiving those things, it breaks the illusion. He loses the ability to control your healing process, and that is when his ego feels powerless. True closure is the calmness you carry when you no longer react. It is the stillness in your heart when his name no longer shakes you. It is the quiet strength of knowing you could have stayed wounded, but instead, you chose to rise. And this strength is not about pretending you were never hurt. It is about proving to yourself that your peace cannot be taken hostage by anyone. Every time you resist the urge to reach out for answers, every time you choose silence over confrontation, every time you allow yourself to move forward without his involvement, you are exercising self-mastery, and slowly the pain loses its grip. You stop needing his acknowledgement, because you realize the only acknowledgement that matters is your own. You are the one who decides when the story ends, not him. When you replace closure with self-mastery, you reclaim full ownership of your life. You stop waiting, you stop chasing, you stop depending. You free yourself. And in that freedom lies the ultimate blow to his ego, the realization that he may have broken your heart, but he has no power over your peace. Would you like me to now expand key point 6 into 600 words to complete the full speech flow? The final and most powerful step after heartbreak is to rise beyond his reach. This is not about revenge. It is not about showing him you are better. It is about elevating yourself to a level where he no longer even belongs in your world. Heartbreak feels heavy because it ties you to the past. It makes you feel stuck in the same place as the one who hurt you. But the truth is, the higher you rise, the smaller that pain becomes. And when you rise far enough, it no longer has the power to touch you. A man's ego thrives when he believes he is unforgettable. He tells himself that no matter where you go, you will always carry him in your heart, that you will never fully move on. But when you rise, when you expand, when you create a life so full, so rich, and so powerful that he cannot even fit into it anymore, his ego collapses under the weight of reality. He must face the truth that he is no longer relevant. He was once the center of your world, but now he cannot even stand at the edges of it. This rise is not just about success in the outer world. It is also about depth in your inner world. You begin to understand yourself in ways you never did before. You discover strength you didn't know you had. You find new passions, new callings, new levels of peace. You begin to attract opportunities, people, and experiences that reflect your growth. And suddenly, the heartbreak that once felt like an ending reveals itself as the beginning of a completely different life. When he looks at you from a distance, he will see the glow of someone who no longer belongs to the same level he is stuck in. He may try to reach for you, but the gap is too wide. He may try to remind you of the past, but you are no longer that person. And nothing breaks the ego more than realizing that the version of you he once thought he controlled is gone forever, replaced by someone he cannot access. But rising beyond his reach is not about proving anything to him. It is about proving to yourself that you are always capable of more. It is about refusing to let your story end in heartbreak, and instead writing a chapter so powerful that the pain becomes only a footnote. You are no longer fighting for his attention or competing for his validation. You are simply living at a level that he cannot stand on, because he never chose to grow the way you did. And the beauty is, once you rise, you no longer even feel the need to break his ego. It happens naturally, without effort, without intention. His ego breaks on its own when he realizes you became untouchable. You no longer need him to see it. You no longer need him to admit it. You just live. You just shine. You just continue to move higher. That is enough. The ultimate strike to his pride is not anger, not revenge, not words. It is the quiet distance between where you are now and where he still remains. That distance is the proof of your strength and the reminder of his loss. And nothing is heavier for the ego to carry than the knowledge that he once had you and he will never have you again.